Guys, I bought a bunch of bedding that is like the wrong size. I'm genuinely so annoyed. The person made me think we were in town or something. Good morning, Shanghai King. 笑死. Good morning. What's up? I labeled this as a decentering men chit chat, but we can talk about whatever you want. I'll be online for the next hour or so. So let's yap. What's been happening? I've been on a soft social media hiatus recently. Like 1 day a week, I go on TikTok and Instagram, which is Thursday today. Really? There's no sound? Okay, wait, let me start again. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I go on. Okay, wait, can people hear me now? What's the deal? Good connection. Okay. Oh, so annoying. Yeah, my 1 day a week on social media has been fucking boring. I can check Instagram today. Nail time for me. Love to see it. My nails are looking ghetto. Is the sound working? Good morning. What's up? Do you have copies of the same wallpaper? No, I just move it around. I just thought it would look nicer here than this ugly ass brick. But maybe I should get multiple copies. I want one in every room. I don't know why I thought you were sitting in the tub. Okay, yeah, I guess this does kind of look like that. How are we? New room unlocked, yeah. She comes with me everywhere. When I was stuck in Australia, I had like a small version of this that I got printed, and I would look at it every day and I would just be like, I'm going to go to Shanghai and get a huge version of this poster. And that's exactly what I did. Yay! Anyway, so yeah, I'm on a soft social media hiatus. Every Thursday I can go on TikTok and Instagram, but I still go on like Red Note because it's in Chinese. So I feel like I get tired much faster because I can't necessarily read everything on there. And I tell myself that it's like still educational for me to be on like an all Chinese platform. I don't know if I feel free. I feel like I just replaced snacking. I replaced social media with snacking. Oh my god, is this gonna be a hazard? So yeah, that's one thing. I do feel like less of an urge to check social media though. Like that kind of goes away within a week. But at the same time, I spend more time on Twitter on my laptop than usual. Usually I go on Twitter like once a month, but I go on Twitter every other day now. So yeah, I don't know. I think I need to do it for at least a month or two to figure out if it actually makes me more productive or not. But I'm not that mad at it, you know. And it's like funny because a lot of people will still contact me about stuff that's going viral. Like my friend messaged me yesterday to tell me about the thewizardliz situation. And then I also saw people talking about it on Red Note. But yeah, I also realized that it is kind of like every 2 or 3 years since I've had Instagram, I usually go through a phase where I don't want to be online, like whether I deactivate my account or I just intentionally spend less time on it. So I was kind of already due for a bit of a break because I deactivated my account in like 2020, 2021 or something. So I'm enjoying the break, but it is a bit boring, not gonna lie. I miss the old IG where it was for real just seeing friends' pics. Exactly. What radicalized you the most? Well, I think when I was in high school or like when I was growing up, being raised by a single mom in a white society as like an immigrant was definitely something. And then just like my education, like learning about the history of women's oppression, also being able to see clear like class differences growing up and like the intersection between class and race and gender. And then just like living in the world and seeing the effects of inequality, structural inequality, like there's no reason why people have to be living with such huge income gaps, but humanity insists. I feel like IG should have profile views or pokes. Well, yes. Actually, profile views is crazy, and pokes is basically like liking someone's Instagram story. But how do I align myself with the energy to make female friends and distance myself from men? I'm in a long-term relationship now, and I want friends to share this chapter of my life with. I feel like I attract people who need validation, even though I'm in my self-validation era. Help. Okay, that's a great question. I think that the thing about making friends and meeting new people is that I personally don't believe there's a one and done formula. Like, if you go here and you do this and you meet these people, then you'll have a new friend. I think it definitely is like a balance between living as authentically as you can, going out into the world, and just being open to new people. But then you also have to assess your compatibility with a new person on a case by case basis. Just because you're looking for new friends and you meet a new person doesn't mean that the first person that you meet outside of your friend group is going to be your new best friend. You know what I mean? So I think, especially when you're going through these transition periods, it's almost like you're being tested to see what you really care about. You might meet people who are really in need of validation or who crave validation from you, and because you are familiar with that kind of relationship, you might just automatically entertain it and end up in the same thing that you're trying to avoid, or you have more awareness around the patterns within people who seek validation from you, and then you're not going to be as willing or open to entertain like a connection with someone like that. That's kind of how I see it. And yeah, I think it's important to be patient, and it's kind of annoying when you've done a bunch of work on yourself, which requires a lot of patience. And yeah, it's just more of that when you are meeting new people. It can be really easy to be almost like tired of going through like a healing or like self-work process. So you just hope that like, okay, the next person is the answer to my prayers, but it doesn't usually work like that in my experience and observation. Thoughts on the Wizard Liz situation? I think she's really brave for outing her fiance, firstly, especially with the platform that she has. But I think that both of them were just way too young. Like, I thought she was at least 28, but when she said that she's like 24, 25, and so is he, too young. I feel like, especially as a woman, if you don't prioritize marriage and you want to self actualize, don't get married before 30. Like, if she never prioritized marriage, then it's a huge thing to just do that, even if she felt like she met the right person. Marriage is always an L for the women. So, hi, babe. I think she's just too young, but I admire her for choosing herself regardless, because it's tough when you are in a public relationship, I imagine, and also like your public persona is tied to like making self-empowerment content and not taking shit from anyone, and then you feel like you have been played. It would be easy to just try to like pretend that didn't happen, but I also feel like it's good for business in her case. The views are going to be going up, 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 up. The queen is outside. I love your shirt. Thank you. I'm on my balcony. I'm not really outside. I'm like half outside. What are everyone else's thoughts? I think they're just too young. Like, him only being like 25, 26 as well, red flag. His brain is just not closed. Even when people say like it was premeditated and he was planning everything, blah, 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 like sometimes I feel like women give men too much credit. Like they are so impulsive and emotionally driven, especially when they are consumed by like lust and possession of a woman, that in his mind he probably believed everything that he was saying. Like they could have still met completely by chance and without him having to stalk her or anything, and he probably genuinely felt what he felt, but that's not going to override any lack of discipline that he has around his emotions or his lust. Like feeling really good around someone doesn't undo deep-seated toxic insecure behavior. You know what I mean? Love that you took the frame with you. Yes, Lindsay must come with me everywhere. It does make me wonder how these situations happen. Not that red flags can't be hidden, but that amazing vindictive women fall for men who are half full. It's because women just want to see the best in other people. And I think especially if you are like high achieving or ambitious, and it's not even about like the material success you do or don't have, but just the mindset that you're in, and you also really are determined to like grow and evolve and heal from trauma, that's a really isolating experience, because the higher your standards are, the less people there are that can meet them. So if someone comes along and he's like saying all these things that align with what you believe and what you practice, it's easier to just be like, finally someone understands me, and you just assume and project that that person is on the same page as you and practicing what they're preaching to the same way that you are. So it's really easy to have blind spots around it. I'm speaking from experience. Are you talking about the wizard Liz? Yeah. Makes me think, do all men actually cheat? Right. Women are raised with empathy, men aren't. That asymmetry is very destructive. Yes. I think it's also biological as well. Like, I'm not giving men excuses, but it's like most men don't respect women. They don't have it in them to do that. They don't have sexual discipline. They don't have emotional discipline. Even if that's by nature, it's then exacerbated by the society that we live in. They get away with so much. And it's just important that women wake up to that reality. I'm not here to like trash on men and say that that's a good or a bad thing. It's just how it is. And rather than insisting that they change in ways that many are not capable or willing to, you need to clock reality for what it is and move accordingly. That's why decentering men is so important, because as long as you choose yourself, you never lose. Okay. Anytime you put your faith in someone outside of you, that's when things start to go maybe I've been conditioned to not fall for that. I love getting under the skin. I refuse to believe someone's values just by what they say. Yeah, that's good. But that's not everyone. It took me a long time to fully understand what actions speak louder than words mean, because I take my word very seriously. So the idea of not following through or not taking accountability for my actions or my lack of action is a foreign concept to me, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect, because of course there have been times where I've fallen short of my own standard, but you don't really know where your standard is relative to a lot of other people's, especially when you first meet them. It seems like, your spectrum is sitting in the same place, but it could be completely different, no overlap whatsoever. I'm 26, I swear I'll never date a man again. You find women get attached to guys because they genuinely care for them, and men not as much. Most men have the machinery for empathy. It's in their brains, but the parts are so rusty. Yeah. They're just not trained to give a fuck. And historically, they've gotten away with it. Women, they've watched the women around them get abused and taken advantage of. Women have watched the women that they know get abused and taken advantage of in the most subtle ways. So it's just like so deep in the collective subconscious, it's difficult to undo. Like, it's not a one generation thing by any means. Any tips on how to stop comparing myself to other women? Can't help but feel like I'm in competition. Okay. I think the more you focus your energy on yourself, and the more you use triggers for envy and jealousy as like, okay, how can I take this as inspiration? How does this show me what is possible? Okay, what can I learn from what this person has achieved or what this person has, and apply it to my own life in my own context? Because the more that you do that, and the more that you fully accept who you are, and the good, the bad, the privileges, the traumas, the perceived disadvantages, etc., you accept yourself fully, the more you realize that there's no point in comparing yourself to other people, because their context is different to yours. Why are you comparing yourself to someone else's 10th step when you haven't made your first step, And your first step might lead you in a completely different direction than theirs. And I think that it's more about like how you want to feel about yourself that's important, not just how your life looks to other people. Because there are plenty of people who have a perfect life, or look like they have a perfect life, look like they have a perfect relationship, and they're one event away from the whole thing falling apart, and not being what it seems. So there's literally no point in comparing yourself to others. You can appreciate what other people have, you can take inspiration, you can let it be an example of what's possible for you, but you just have no idea what people are going through, And I think like the Wizard Liz situation is a perfect example, which is why I think it's like so heartbreaking and shocking for so many people, because it was really like an example for people of like what could be possible, of like an ideal relationship, like even with all the work that she's done and all the boundaries, like she found someone that could match her freak, but like he said, 5 to 10 minutes, and he blew it all up. So when you just when more of your energy is focused on your own journey and managing the things that are within your control, you just naturally don't assign as much, and you don't have the capacity to compare yourself to other people in a way that's detrimental to you. You might still have moments where you're like, oh my god, I'm jealous or I'm envious. It's just human emotion. But you want to be like 80-20, 80% focused on yourself, 20% taking information from outside of you, not 80% comparing yourself, 20% focus on yourself. You know what I mean? I've seen firsthand a guy get ostracized from his friends for opening up. Like, oh my god, yeah, they do it to themselves. Hi Amber, thanks for getting me through some tough times. Just listening to you helped me a lot. Bless you. You're very welcome. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, what else would I have to say? Yeah, I just think they were both too young. I don't know. Like maybe he did premeditate everything, but I think he genuinely was interested in her, obviously. In his own delusional reality, he thought that they were on the same level. He probably mirrored her. And maybe he was already like talking to other people, trying to talk to other girls, and this was just the first time that he got caught. I doubt it was the first time. One of my most like when I was 25, 26, I dated a guy that was older than me, and it was kind of like a similar dynamic in the sense that he mirrored a lot of what I shared. Like we followed each other on Instagram. I would post like stuff I was reading or share my thoughts, and he would like reply and say, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's so true, blah, blah, blah. And he was like making it seem like we were on the same page about a lot of things. And in the end, our value system was quite different, which is something you can only know over time. Just because someone says they are something, there is no way to like cheat the system and be able to tell without letting time pass and letting people show you who they are. Okay. And I think that's something that you don't fully understand when you're young, because I always say, like, you just haven't been alive long enough to know or to have the context or to have the information necessary to make like a well-rounded assessment. And anyway, one thing that this guy said, which I'll never forget, because I didn't understand it at the time, but once we broke up, I was like, okay, I get it now. And he was essentially telling on himself, but he was like, yeah, I don't think you really know someone until you have seen them through all the seasons of a year. And I didn't really understand that when I was 25, 26, because I was like, but sometimes it just feels right, but sometimes that's just your hormones, sometimes that's just them being able to push on the right buttons and being able to see those more clearly than you, and construct an image that you develop an attachment or an investment to. And I think like the Wizard Liz, they weren't even together for a full year. So they don't really know each other, even when it feels right, even when he's mirrored all the right things. That doesn't mean that he is that person. It just means he's a good actor, you know. You are awesome, girly pop. Love you. But yeah, and now I feel like it's not, you never really know someone, you know, because you never really know yourself. You're in an ongoing journey of self discovery, and being in a committed relationship is committing to that process with another person. And you can do it for a certain amount of time, but like the idea of together forever is not realistic for the most part, even though it's a type of messaging that is like constantly drilled into people's heads and romanticized. That doesn't mean that it's real or that it's possible for most people. So stay woke, ladies. They're both just too young, in my opinion. But that's okay. Live, laugh, love, and learn. Have you always been this insightful about friendships and romantic relationships? I think I've always had a desire to learn and to understand and an interest in it. But as time goes on, I learn more. You know, I don't think I have all the answers. I always say that this is an ongoing journey. I'm sharing my thoughts as they are. And like sometimes that changes and evolves, and I'll update you when that happens. For example, one thing that I'm always flip flopping on, or not flip flopping, but just like I want to be proven wrong is like if men and women can be friends, or like how can men and women be friends. Sometimes I feel like they can be, sometimes I feel like they can't be. It's ongoing. I don't have a clear answer. But, you know, different experiences help me to sort of better understand like my own boundaries in relationships with that context. My insecure ex left me and immediately dated younger girls. It's pathetic. He couldn't be alone. That's how it be most of the time. You deserve better. The Wizard Liz is only like 25, I think. She's really young. I grew up with an antagonistic twin brother. I can see through men most times. I'm thankful for that. Okay, girl. Faye law drop. I love that. I feel like in life there's always a lesson to be learned from things, good or bad. Yes, I agree. And in her case, like making her relationship public is relevant to her business. So she's still gonna make money. At least there's that, you know. It's not gonna be totally for waste. And I think it's amazing that she has such a huge audience of women that support her as well. Because I think 10 years ago it wouldn't have been like that. Like women were still being blamed for men being useless. But this is a huge paradigm shift. Like she has a huge following. She's changed the lives of so many women, and women can see through male incompetence in ways that we weren't given the opportunity to before. So I think that yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm rooting for her. She's going to be just fine, and his life is going to get so much worse. He will probably have a lot of girls going after him because there are a lot of pygmies out there that think like, oh, he got her, and if he likes me, then I'm as good as her. That's not how it works. But, you know, he fumbled hard. He will search for her in every woman that he meets from now on. That's why I'm 20, but still more mature than a lot of 50-year-olds. Yeah, you're still a baby. Just remember, everybody is prone to blind spots. No matter how wise other people say you are, no matter how much self-work you've done, we are all prone to blind spots. It's just part of human nature. There's nothing wrong with you. So have self-compassion and compassion for others, but draw a line, okay? Know when the line's being crossed. Who is this girl? I'm so not into the drama. thewizardliz. Yeah, she has a YouTube. Worst pick me you've ever encountered. Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I try not to allocate too much of my memory to remembering pick me adjacent behavior. Like I see it, I observe it, I analyze it, and then I try to like move on with my life. I don't really reserve that much brain space. Because pick me behavior is like so insidious sometimes. It's not necessarily someone's whole personality. They could be seemingly normal and well adjusted on all fronts, and then they fold at the attention of a man that's like so undeserving of even the time of day. Um, but like even just the other day, I was at like a birthday drinks, and one of the girls, she is closer with the birthday girl than I am with her, right? So the birthday girl has been telling me about how there's this like 40-year-old guy that's been trying to go after her friend who's like in her late 20s. And he is unemployed, jobless, a Pisces man, 40, ugly. And I think he managed to like manipulate this girl into thinking that she's not good enough for him or something. And she's cute, she gets hit on a lot, but she's still entertaining this old man. I made a video inspired by the situation on TikTok because he was only talking to her on Bumble. So like I got more context for the relationship or the connection the other night. Like they met in person, added each other's WeChat. Months passed or whatever. They're both on Bumble and they match. And then they only speak on Bumble. He only speaks to her on Bumble, not on WeChat, or speaks to her on Instagram. Then he's like trying to get her to go out or something at one point, and she's like, "Oh, I can't, I'm busy." And he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll just find another girl." Immediate block. But she still entertains him. And then after all this chat about this old man, he's not even like 40 is not even old, but like in this context, he's too old. I was shown a picture of him. I literally screamed out loud. Like he's balding here and then has long hair, not body not giving tea. Literally like it inspired a video which I'm going to make, which is what to do when your friend is in love with an ogre. Because that's what it's giving. Like my friend has a picture of what she would compare his appearance to. Literally this. That's what he looks like. And our friend is cute, okay? And then She works as a waitress at like a semi-bougie Italian restaurant. And the night that she came to drinks, she came from work and she was like, oh yeah, this like boy, Gen Z boy from like New York, Chinese international student, was like asking me for my WeChat, blah, blah, blah. She showed us the messages. He's like really polite. Please, can I take you for a drink? Showed us his picture. He's not like hot, but he's not ugly. Okay. He's cute and he's young and he lives in New York in Manhattan. So, you know, he's not broke. She's like, I don't know. I don't know. We're like, wake up, girl. That's pick me behavior. That's the universe testing you. Okay, what do you really care about? What are you really into? Exactly. Not an unemployed Pisces. Like, pick a struggle. Male, Pisces, over 40, unemployed, balding. That's already 6. Painful to witness, for real. But yeah, my friend and I were just like, I was like, I'm sorry. She was like, do you see what I have to deal with? Like, this is what I have to witness. I was like, I'm sorry, but like, there's literally nothing you can do. At best, you keep her busy so they don't hang out. Because she's also going to Paris. Yeah, she's going to go to Paris in like July. And she said she was like looking at these like Louis Vuitton bags and he asked her like, oh, what's like the SKU of that bag? And like making it seem like he's going to buy it for her. And it's like, he's not going to buy that bag for you. He already tried to like manipulate you by saying, oh, if you don't hang out with me, I'll hang out with another girl. Then there was one night where they were at an event or something and she was kind of like not really paying attention to him. So he was like messaging her. Oh my God, that dog's so cute. Messaging her on Instagram. She wasn't replying. So then messaging her on WeChat and then eventually was like, oh, I really like you. Like, will you be my girlfriend? I cannot. I always think about how from someone's IG aesthetic you can tell who is performing for men. Yeah. Well, I watched maybe a fake bag, exactly. I was like, dude, this New York boy has a better chance of buying you a Louis Vuitton bag than this 40-year-old unemployed man. Like, please. And she's like, yeah, let me see if I can like, let me see over the next month if he buys it. I'm like, no. Don't give him another day. Don't give him another second of your time and attention. I was like, bro. Another thing that one of my guy friends told me, which I'll discuss in an upcoming video, never let a man make your life worse, which I filmed yesterday. There's going to be 2 parts because the first part's already too long. He was like, every time a man messages you, he's smiling at his phone. Because I was like getting hit up by this baby daddy guy who my friends and I, through FBI investigation, female bestie investigation, deduced he is a baby daddy and most likely still with the baby mama. He was messaging me, like trying to riz me, and I was only entertaining it for like market research purposes, and a part of me wanted to see how far he would go, just without me having to like do much. But my guy friend was like, every time you reply to his messages, he's smiling at his phone. So just think about that. They're siphoning your energy, okay? Never give a man a free pep in his step. I saw a Shira 7 video where someone in the comments was like, bedroom bait, okay? Like, a lot of women just want to be bedroom bait. That's what curating your social media to appeal to the male gaze is. Bedroom bait. But at this point, men can sexualize and objectify anything. I guess it's just if you intentionally are creating in a way that has the male gaze in mind and appealing to the male gaze. But yeah, I don't know. Like, some women just don't think there's any other way to post up, that's the only gaze, the only aesthetic that they're familiar with and they know how to reproduce. Buy yourself the bag and save thousands of dollars on therapy. Exactly. Or also just realize that, like, the bag means nothing. It's just a vessel for you to put your lip gloss in. It could be anything, you know, coming from someone who likes nice things. You don't need that bag, and you definitely don't need that man, and you definitely don't need to be with that man to get that bag if you really want it. What to do when your friend is in love with a man with SA allegations? Keep her busy so she doesn't have time to hang out with him. Shrek realness, literally. Good morning. Please save her. My ex from 10 years ago reached out to me. He has 3 toddlers and going through a divorce right now. Ugh. Lame. Lame. Posing, dressing to get male attention versus using your IG to authentically and artfully express yourself. Yes, exactly. They use us as social currency, even just being mutuals on IG. Exactly. A woman's cosign is priceless. I've been thinking about unfollowing this guy who, I guess many years ago when I was younger, in a way I like looked up to him because we work in the same industry and he seemed like objectively successful. And then I met him in person and he was such a mess. But then he was like, I have a crush on you. And I was like, okay, give me $1 million. Like, what the hell? That means nothing to me. We don't even live in the same city. And then I guess after that, he like looked more into my TikTok or whatever. And he would be like, oh my God, like your TikToks are like changing my life right now. Like, blah, blah, blah. And like the TikTok in question was me saying, you don't need dating advice. You need to like go outside and like get a hobby. And this man is like almost 40 probably. So I was like, okay, interesting. Like you've obviously just started having critical thoughts at your big age. And like life has actually just been pretty, career-wise, has been pretty easy for you. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time and opportunities have, you've just seamlessly navigated your career. But like your self-reflection, internal skills do be lacking, okay? That's fine, no judgment, but like how much proximity do I want to this? And then he kind of was like asking me to co-sign yellow fever behavior, which I was like, I'm not going to do that. And then I looked at his following on TikTok because he has a lot of followers on Instagram, but not on TikTok, but he's obviously on the platform. So he follows way more accounts than follow him. And every second or third account, when I looked at it, it was like follow back, because he just follows like Asian internet baddies or like Asian hotties, you know, like Asian fashion creative adjacent girlies who follow me. I was like, okay. And then on Instagram, you know, when you like engage with someone more like in DM or whatever, their account becomes prioritized. So he's already liked all of the posts by like my mutual female friends because he follows all of the internet Asian girlies, Asian and women of color girlies. And I'm just like, should I unfollow this guy? Because it's kind of embarrassing. Like, what is he bringing to the function? What is he adding here? Being desirable to a man like that is not flattering anymore, or not flattering in general. I don't even know why I said anymore. I guess maybe there was a period of time where I thought it might be flattering. And he can do nothing for me. There's no business opportunity, and there never was, unless it was me offering him one. Because men like that don't think about women as potential collaborators. They only think about them as energy to be siphoned. Isn't that crazy? I was like shocked, but also I'm not surprised. So yeah, they do be using you. Like sometimes I just unfollow people because I know they talk shit about me and they don't deserve to be in my following. Or like I had girls that would like try to cool guy me at parties, like girls that I was genuinely friends with and who I would literally like share opportunities with, push them, pitch them for jobs. And then they tried to cool guy me in person. Like I'd be like, hi, how's it going? I was like, okay, what the fuck did I ever do to you? We literally used to be best friends. So then I unfollowed them. I say unfollow him, Amber. You're right. I'm going to do that when I get online today. He probably won't even notice he has so many followers. But yeah, I need to do a serious call. Because I've had people say like, oh, do you know this person? I saw you guys follow each other. Or yeah, this person hit me up and I saw that you follow them. So I just kind of like trusted that they would be cool if you are associated with them, you know. And I'm not famous. So that stuff does have an impact, you know. Everything is nepotism in varying degrees. I want to make a video about that, but like I haven't exactly figured out, or haven't like, he sounds like a grifter. Yeah. No, literally the shit that he was saying about how he finds like, he doesn't want to date a Susan and he finds like Asian and black women just like so beautiful. I was like, I'm gonna throw up. But this is what happens when like you can create a safe space for people to share their deepest, darkest thoughts. Saying hi from Hong Kong, also learning how to DJ right now. Oh my god, slay! Good luck on your DJing journey. The yellow fever is insane. I'm Filipino. Are you based in the Philippines or in the US? Or where are you based? Also, I have a hair mask on right now. Aloe vera, gel, and castor oil. But I'm just like so fascinated by like male mentality. I'm not gonna lie, guys. They fascinate me so much. Like the number of men that I've met who have just been like, yeah, I didn't have a critical thought until I was like 23 or like 30 or like until yesterday, until a week ago. I started thinking about my life. And they're like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I actually don't know what you mean. Like I've only ever thought about everything, overthought everything. I have no memory of not overthinking and analyzing everything. From my earliest memories, I was just like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what do you mean you never thought about your life decisions? You just like, you know, you realize how easy it is for so many of them in a material way, not necessarily a spiritual, okay? Spiritually suffering. You're in New York City, okay? Stay safe out there, girly. Dating men is one thing. I've been managed by a revolving door of men at work. High turnover has been the worst experience of my life. I feel for you, queen. There really is, like, you do kind of need to develop a separate persona just to deal with men. That's where I'm at right now, you know? Like, so many men, if not most men, like simply cannot comprehend the multidimensionality of a woman. Okay. The part of you that connects with men is like a tiny little sliver, but that is like their whole being. That's why they become so enamored by women that are like emotionally intelligent, because it's like you see all of them with just a small part of you, but they think that you are completely connected, that the part of them that connects with you is all of you, but there is so much more to you. So personally, I feel like just developing a persona that you adopt just to deal with men, especially in a work context, is helpful to just maintain kind of like detachment from their bullshit. You just navigate it instead of feeling like you have to take anything that they say or do personally, or that you're responsible for their feelings or their ego. You just have to be like this and get what you need, get what you want out of these situations, because their brains are just too small. Sorry. I used to think that there was something that men could do that was like, I don't know, like maybe superior to women or something, to justify the years, decades, millennia of oppression. But they're just good at having this like unspoken community, like camaraderie, and they're good at dividing women. So they have the upper hand. But that's starting to change, which I'm more than happy to witness. I can't talk to any of my girlfriends about this because they think I'm too negative. Been there, girly pop. It's okay. That's what the internet's for. Yeah, I'm lucky that I have friends who are completely divested from men, more so than I am, and some friends who are a little more invested than I am. It keeps things fresh and dynamic. Not everyone has to think exactly the same way as you, and you have like you're reminded of what reality is actually like. Like when I've been very divested from men and everyone around me is like that, you don't have a realistic understanding of how reality works anymore. And when you're around too many women that are too invested in men, it's also exhausting. So for me, having a balance and a spectrum keeps things interesting. You have different kinds of conversations with different people, but yeah, be patient about finding people that are like-minded. Distance yourself from the people that drain you and exhaust you. Channel that energy back into yourself, and then also into relationships where you feel more connected, more authentic. They see this depth and they think they can take it, have the same depth by proxy, literally coming and stealing your hobbies or things you say. Exactly. I get impressed by guys who have a better career, and then I realize that I thought I couldn't be a success. That's why I'm working on being successful on my own, so I'm not impressed by anyone, period. That's a really big thing as well. Do you like this man, or do you just want to be him? Like, men have gender envy towards women, but I fully have gender envy towards men. I'd love if everything was so fucking easy for me. Um, but I'm very aware of that envy that I have within me towards men. It's not like destructive, but I'm just aware that it's there, because the way that they talk about how things have worked out for them, I'm like, cool, that's never how it's been for me, but whatever. Would it be different if I had more audacity? I don't know if it would, because for men, it's like the more audacity they have, the more successful they can be. But that's not always the case with women, because people will see your gender first, not your ability, not your audacity. But I don't know, maybe I'll try to be more audacious and see where it gets me. Literally, my boss has just stolen all my ideas. Usually I just want to be him. Yeah. If you work in an ideas-based job, save some of the good ideas for yourself, okay? Don't feel like you owe your job all the ideas that you have, okay? Generally, I can say stay away when I know they're pygmies. It's too dangerous. Yeah. Woke up and removed him because he got distant. He removed the girl I said was weird, but I already left. Huh? Oh, yeah. Keep it moving, girly. It's too late. They get annoyed with audacity. Audacity or caucasity. Hi, Amber. How can you get your power back from being ghosted? I got attached to a fling from his patterns with me. I know he has already seen other women. I'm looking. Oh my god, Lindsay's betrayed me. How can you get your power back from being ghosted? I got attached to a fling from his patterns with me. I know he has clearly seen other women and looking for other women to entertain him. It hurts being suddenly rejected, discarded, and I've uprooted my usual routines like going to a different gym, avoiding streets, parts of town I know he may be at in fear that I'd see him or he sees me, but I also can't help looking for him when I'm out as well, if that makes sense. Or I can't help noticing every car model that is the same or looks like him. Okay. I'm sorry that you have had to go through that. He deserves nothing, and I hope he stubs his toe every day for the rest of his life. I think that you've already taken great steps. Continue with directing the energy that you used to direct to him back into yourself, and imagine yourself growing and expanding as a result of that, okay? It's not like you are static in who you are and what you're capable of. When something leaves your life, the energy that you used to give to them, you can pour into yourself and then expand into a new version of yourself so that they basically become a stranger to you if you do ever bump into them, okay? Practice potentially bumping into them and how you will act extremely nonchalant. Hi, good to see you. As if nothing happened, okay? That will piss them off the most. Non-reaction. So yeah, don't feel like you have to live in fear. You need to process that, alchemize it into your confidence, into your unbotheredness, in my opinion. Here's the void that exists within him that needs to be, or that he's convinced himself needs to be filled with female attention, not your responsibility and not a reflection of your self-worth, okay? It's not about you not being enough. It's about him being empty inside. Okay? It could be any woman. And what he's done to you, he's probably going to do to many others. So don't take it personally. Your ability to see the best in other people is not something that you should be ashamed of, just something that you can develop an awareness around and maybe pace yourself, and also don't or avoid attaching too much to outcomes, because I think the reason why we attach to people is because they say things that give us hope, and we attach to the outcome. We want to see it through, and we get disappointed when the relationship ends and all the things that we attach to, all the outcomes we attach to, don't precipitate. And it's normal for your mind to go into all these places, and to create these stories. But when you become aware of the fact that they are just stories and it's not happened yet, and just because that hasn't happened doesn't mean a bunch of other really amazing things that might be even better than the thing that you attach to, like those, now you have space for those things to happen too. Okay, so does that make sense? You've been blessed by him removing himself from your life, okay? Because if he is doing that to you at an early stage, he could do that to you at a later stage too. So the earlier the better, you know. And that's the same thing with like the Wizard Liz situation. It's fucked up, but better that you know now than later that he's like that, because that's always lived inside of him, even when he was pretending that it didn't. Men will steal your ideas and implement them like they came up with them. Insecure men seek that. Yeah. It's psychological, like Carl Jung concepts of anima and animus. Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people in general are not integrated, do not seek or pursue integration. That's literally by design, because if people were able to do that en masse, a lot of societal messaging would have no effect or not be effective. So I don't blame people for not knowing better. I just want to encourage people that want to know better or want to do better to keep that energy. Okay. Don't let other people's incompetence or unwillingness like deter you from wanting to do what you want to do, you know. I think that's something that I have to continuously learn and be reminded of. It's like, just because they fucked up, just because they don't care, just because they couldn't meet you at where you're at, doesn't mean that you need to lower your standards or that you need to ask for less. Okay. You just need to ask for more elsewhere. You just need to keep going. And I wish that my turnover time was faster, but it is what it is. Okay. We've gotten to this point the way that we have, and we keep it moving. But I have no regrets. But if I would tell my younger self anything, it would be, just move on, girl. You don't need to wait. If someone has indicated to you more than once that they aren't as committed as they say they are, and you are committed, you keep moving forward. Okay. Don't wait for other people to realize something that you've already realized. Okay. You live by example. Either they'll catch up, or you will catch up to someone who's further along in their journey and can actually, you know, connect with you and support you in an authentic way. You have the most soothing tone I've ever heard. Thank you. I have a very controversial and divisive tone of voice. But yeah, I think that's something that I've been dealing with in the last year, is just like realizing that a part of me feels like I'm waiting for other people to do the things that they say they're going to do. And I've made progress in the things that I want to make progress in, and they haven't. And I'm still waiting for them to catch up. And it's like, there's no need, you know, keep doing what you want to do. And like the people that are at where you're at or respect that will find you. You will find them. Okay. And it's hard because I definitely romanticize the idea of like working with your friends and coming up together, slaying together, collaborating, blah, blah, blah. And you feel like, you know, guilty almost. But why? They wouldn't feel guilty. Then they aren't even thinking about you. And if anything, they're waiting for you to do better so that they can claim part of your success. That's not a equal exchange, you know. So crying, thank you so much. You're welcome, babe. I always regret hanging around too long. When I move on and look back, I feel way hotter. Yeah. Agree. If you feel like that drained feeling, listen to it, you know, because I think before I used to ignore it a lot because I would feel like a sense of obligation to certain people or certain relationships. But there are plenty of relationships where I don't feel drained, you know. and it's mutually supportive, and there's no like obligation that either I've imported or that they've imported or we've both created in like an unrealistic way. So yeah. I think also like when you go through a situation like a breakup or being ghosted, the emotions are so heightened in the moment that you feel like it will be like this forever. Or you can't make sense of it because you've attached yourself to outcomes that haven't happened and you haven't yet reconciled with that. And that just takes a little bit of time. Journaling, thought dumping, meditation, having a hobby, having multiple hobbies, listening to my Training for a Breakup podcast episode. Um, but yeah, the more you focus your energy on yourself and doing things that bring you joy and allowing time to pass, the more perspective you have. And the more you will realize that that relationship was never meant to be anyway. It is out of your life for a reason and you can be grateful for it. Like, always be open to your perspective on a situation changing as time goes on. I think that's a really big thing that I learned. Things that feel devastating and catastrophic in the moment, and when you're going through it, you can end up looking back and feeling grateful that it happened, which is crazy. You never think that that's going to be the case at the time, but as you get older, you realize that that is the privilege of aging. Okay, something that you felt like would ruin you ends up being the thing required to get you into a place that you could have never imagined better than you could have ever imagined. How do you deal with your parents literally pushing back on you decentering men? Just don't talk to them about what you really think, or lie and say, and just agree with them. Like, I'm not opposed to lying to other people for my own convenience. I'm opposed to lying to myself. But if people are going to be like opposed to me living authentically, there's no reason why I owe them authenticity. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Your parents aren't the ones that have to live your life, so you don't owe them honesty if they're not willing to honor your truth, your authenticity. And that goes for any relationship context, in my opinion. And you just have to live by example. I think your parents want you to be happy, and their generation has been conditioned to value women being in relationships with men to be happy. That's just the messaging that they received. They don't know any different. If you can show to them over time that you're happy decentering men and living your best life, it doesn't matter what they say. You'll just be like, well, are you putting money in my bank account? Do you think I would make more or less money if I was dating a man right now? If you know any rich men, if you know any men that are doing well that you can introduce me to, I'll date them right now. I'll marry them tomorrow. If you don't, keep your mouth shut. How do you disconnect without devaluing a dynamic that's a conscious means to an end? Overall good experience, just no longer aligned. Just focus on other things. Focus on things that bring you more joy. Spend some time alone if those things are not yet in your orbit. But yeah, I've had to do that at times where I've realized that this friendship or this relationship or this opportunity is just not really aligned anymore. And requests for your time just sort of like don't be available. Don't be as available. And like actually do other things, have other things that you need to attend to so that you're genuinely not available. Nurture the things that matter to you, or just, isolate for a little bit and lick your wounds, and things will naturally realign. Okay. Don't wait for other people to change the way that you're dealing with them to change your reality. That's, similar sentiment to not waiting. and not hanging around longer than you need to. I'm scared to ever be intimate with a man again. Any advice? I feel scared. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on that. I'll let you know. Close your ears and go la 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 la. Gotta annoy your parents more than they annoy you. Yeah. You don't even have to annoy them, because it takes energy to do that too. Indifference and silence is a response. Okay. Don't feel like you have to have an answer to everything. Just because people ask you a question doesn't mean you owe them an answer. Especially if they're questioning like you living the way that you want to live. You don't owe them a truthful answer, in my opinion. Lol, love that. Thank you. I get so much clarity when I'm broke. Like, why am I wasting my time with this man when I'm suffering, literally? What do you do when you can't stop thinking about them, even when you accepted the relationship is over and are glad it is? Journal. Write it in your diary. Write a letter, imaginary letter to them, telling them how much you hate them. Write a letter to them telling them that you're letting them go. Obviously don't send them anything, but write it out so it stops swirling around in your brain, and keep writing about it until you get sick of writing about it, and then you'll realize you don't care anymore. And maybe you'll think about it again in a year or two. You can write about it then too. But you're not busy enough if thoughts of someone that's not in your life occupy your mind too much. You got to go do something. How do you deal with friendship breakups and social media? Do you delete them? Yes. Yeah. Maybe I'll give it like a grace period. But if I really get to a point where it's like, yeah, it is what it is, we're not compatible, that's sad, it's awkward, but why pretend, you know? Unfollow. Or soft block. What if all he does is apologize mixed with manipulation? What do you call this type of person who doesn't answer direct questions? Someone to block. Period. Yeah. The red flags are already there, babe. You don't need to rationalize it. Not everybody needs to be diagnosed. Okay. I think that's an issue with like Western individualism. It's like everything needs a diagnosis, everything needs a label, everything needs to be categorized in order to be explained or in order to decide how you respond. The vibes being off is reason enough, in my opinion. Okay. I don't care what the source of your problems are, because everybody's got fucking problems. Okay. You're not special because you dealt with this trauma or you have this diagnosis or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. How you treat people is a reflection of your character. I don't give a fuck what the excuse is if it's not compatible with the energy that I'm giving or the thing that we said that we were going to do together or that we care about that you don't give a fuck about. Like, hello. Why doesn't matter, at least as much as people make it. Yeah. Yeah, like a diagnosis should help you to better understand yourself and how you can live your best life, choices that you can make in how to navigate or live in a way that is in spite of the diagnosis that you've received. It's not an excuse to be a CUNT, in my opinion, okay? Because everybody's got fucking problems. It doesn't matter how easy or hard it looks for people, you've got to face the music eventually, okay? And that's what you realize as you get older. Just because someone looked like they had it easy in their 20s doesn't mean it's going to stay easy in their 30s, or because it looked hard in your 20s, it doesn't get easier in your 30s. Everyone's life requires contrast in order to be interesting, in order for them to grow. So Whether it's you looking at your own journey or someone else's journey, appreciate the highs and the lows together. Don't compare yourself. It's necessary. In your journey, have you ever circled back to someone you've blocked with new perspective / forgiveness? That is a good question. Perspective, sure. Forgiveness, no. I think after the fact, I can be like, yeah, that's just who they are, and I couldn't see it at the time. But if I need to block someone or remove them from my life, that's not a decision that I take lightly. I'm not like that quick with the block button when it comes to people that I know, especially people that I've cared about or been in an intimate relationship or friendship with. Okay. So usually something has gone down where I feel like I've done everything I can to be there for this person, and that has been taken for granted or dismissed, and then they've made our friendship conditional. Like, you can't be these things or you can't do these things because they make me uncomfortable, which is fine, okay? But they still want to benefit. They still want all the benefits of being friends with me, or they still want access to me, but not all of me, just the parts that they like, which I'm not down for, okay? Like, I accept people as they are. If you're my friend and I think there's something wrong with you, but I still care about you as a friend, I'm not gonna force you to change or make our friendship conditional on you not being who you fully are, whether that's good or bad, something that I like or don't like. Okay, you're my friend and I'll accept your flaws. But if that's not what I receive in our friendship, then I don't want to be friends. Or if I feel like, yeah, I've given this person a lot of grace that hasn't been reciprocated, that's usually when I get to a point of like, okay, we're not compatible. Because for me, it's fine if you don't like me, but you can't not like me and then still want to benefit from me. That doesn't make sense. You've got to pick. Those two things don't go together. And that's usually the type of conflict that arises when I need to like block or unfollow someone. So, yeah. Do you ever inform them of this change of mind or heart, or is that between you and yourself? Usually it's like something that they say or do that indicates that's how they really feel. And I don't need to inform them because some people are just like that. You get to a point where you realize that people aren't treating you that differently to how they treat everybody else. Like, they've done that to everybody else in their life. All the other relationships they told you about where they were victimized, that's actually what they were doing, probably. So it's not my job to change them because that is so deeply rooted in their own insecurity. They aren't even aware of it. If they were aware of it, you wouldn't be in this situation. They would have that under wraps, because there are things that people that I care about do that might trigger me, but I know that it's my responsibility to deal with that trigger and decide whether I continue with this friendship or not. If it's truly incompatible or unbearable for me, then I've got to detach myself. Okay. It's not my job to make my friendship with them conditional. I can't expect to benefit from someone who I can't fully accept, in my opinion. So if someone's trying to do that shit to me, that's not my problem. If that's who they are, it's not something that you get over in a conversation. It's like ongoing work and self-awareness. And if they'll get to a point where they will not even necessarily be aware of the damage that they're doing to the relationship by behaving that way, they're probably just going to double down. Or fake awareness and then manipulate you back in. What you're saying sounds rooted in wisdom passed down from family or culture. Is there a philosophy you learned? No. I have my own philosophy, the philosophy of being hot and having fun. And it is derived from just living life and learning. It's an ongoing process. Also, I have many Sagittarius placements. I think that may or may not contribute. How have you gotten over heartbreak in the past? I have my podcast episode, Training for a Breakup. That's my formula. Just focus on doing things that bring you joy when you're sad. It's easy to just spiral in the sadness and let the sadness guide you towards more sadness. But you need to be like, okay, I'm sad. What are the things that I do that make me happy? And start doing those things. And at first, it's not going to feel like it's making that much of a difference, but you have to be consistent in your practice, and then slowly you'll work through the sadness. Okay. Decided to watch you while I eat nachos. Yummy. One thing I've learned reluctantly is not to take it that personal because it's just how they are. Yes. I recommend the book, The Four Agreements. That really changed my perspective. It is a bit woo-woo in the language that's used and how it's written, but very helpful. And it can take a little bit of time to really absorb and process what is being said in the book. But the Four Agreements, oh my God, usually I always forget one. Always be true to your word. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Those are the Four Agreements. And when you start to integrate them into your life and into the way that you live and the way that you see the world and the way that you respond to things, it will change everything. Okay. You realize that in the book, it talks about everyone's living in their own dream, which I would say translate to everyone's living in their own reality. You think that because we all look at the same physical things, that we all have the same interpretation, or it's easy to just assume that. But firstly, don't make assumptions. And secondly, don't take it personally, because everyone is interpreting it differently. Okay. It could be as basic as I see a dog and I think it's really cute and I'm excited by it. And another person sees the same dog and is like, I don't like dogs, I like cats, So if it's happening on that scale, it of course happens in your relationships on a personal level, on a political level, etc. It's normal to be triggered, but it doesn't mean that you need to live by the truth of that. I need to make a Be Hot and Have Fun banner and put it above my bed to remember. Period. I can barely control myself, so I can't try to control or change others. As a Captain Saberho. Exactly. Thoughts on the wizardliz situation. I spoke about it earlier. I'll upload the live to YouTube. You can watch. But basically, I think they're both just too young. They're both only 25, 26. I think that, especially when you experience a lot of public facing success at a really young age, and material success, it can warp your perception of your own maturity, which is fine. That's just normal. And what else is there to do once you've achieved so many career goals at such a young age? It's well, I may as well get married. It's like celebrities. But that doesn't mean that your ability to assess whether this is the right relationship for you is necessarily developed or mature, because that just takes time to understand. Yeah, wish her the best, because she's brave for being transparent about it. And I think that that man, a lot of men are going to experience dating hell now because of what he did to her. He literally showed the world, or her huge audience and beyond, that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hot you are, how smart you are, how successful you are. You cannot bring people up, okay? they can only drag you down. You need to do the work. People need to do the work to bring themselves to meet you at your level or to elevate themselves. It's just science. It's nature, okay? Gravity is pulling down on everything all the time. In order to maintain baseline, in order to grow, you have to be constantly exerting energy and force against that. Okay? So people can just say and pretend on a surface level, but the weight of who they are will always drag them down if they are not consistently doing the work. Okay? There's no shortcuts. That's what I've learned so far. Your book recommendations have been very helpful indeed. So far, I've read The Road Less Traveled, The Four Agreements. I'm currently reading Becoming Supernatural. Life-changing. Thank you so much. Slay! I'm so glad people are reading. Yay. 26 is way too young for a guy to get married. He was just a fan, and she boosted his ego. Exactly. He made her a baby mama. It's crazy work. Yeah. He was just a fan. You have to look at the source. He's not special. He doesn't represent all men. Same with Jay-Z. Yeah. He was just a fan. 26. He is too young. And I think for women, like I said, if marriage is not your priority and has never been your priority, do not get married young. Don't let a man convince you to marry him because he gets more out of that than you do. Okay? Unless by some miracle he's putting all his assets under your name and he's bought you a house and whatever, don't get married. They got married way too fast. I'm convinced he was her stalker. Right. Well, I've seen people say that. Like, I don't know. Okay. But I will say that there's no, like, they could have genuinely met by chance, you know? And his feelings for her were real, but that his feelings don't override or correct any insecurities that exist within him. Okay. The feeling itself is not enough. He needs to work through that insecurity. He needs to exercise discipline and self-awareness around how he feels, around his lust. No amount of a man loving you in feeling can override that. Okay. It can override it temporarily, maybe for a few months, maybe for a few years. But if that's who he is at the core, the weight of that will drag him down if he does not consistently practice discipline around that area, okay, around that insecurity. Mid-20s, their brain is fresh out the oven. Exactly. Is there a way to ask a longer question? You can type it in sections, maybe. Like, I think, you know, she's going to slay. She's going to do better. She's going to elevate. And he's probably just going to get worse, you know, beginning of the end for him. It's just the beginning for her. She's achieved so much already. And she's going to be fine. I'm 24. Why do I feel like time is running out, even though I know it's such a young age? That's normal. I have a lot of podcast episodes about quarter life crisis, pre-30 crisis. But aging is a privilege, okay? Time is a privilege. Aging is a privilege. A lot of people don't get that. So to even have the time to think about whether you're wasting your life or not, that's a privilege. So do things that you enjoy, have fun, make mistakes, learn from them. That's basically all we can do. I think these amazing women choose the wrong man, including Shakira. The only one that kind of makes sense is Beyonce because he provides protection for her in the music industry and it's a business partnership. Jay-Z is going to be Beyonce's downfall. I'm sorry. He's next in line on the chopping block, okay? People literally start their careers lives in their 60s. Got to slow down. Yeah. Enjoy the journey, you know. Hustle, get money, but also give yourself time to enjoy. Everything has a price. Every there's an equal opposite reaction for everything, you know. He literally got her when she was fresh 18, if not younger. Beyonce and Jay-Z. Are prenups good, bad, or neutral? I think prenups are essential, but beyond that, I don't have any thoughts. Influences like you make me grateful to be a woman in this century and not in later times. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think we're very lucky. There are still women everywhere, every day, that suffer and are sacrificed in the name of patriarchy. And if you're a woman who even has a little bit of choice in what you learn, what you spend your time doing, who you spend your time with, whether you do or don't get married, whether a man is essential to your financial stability, we're luckier than most. So lean into that privilege. I'm talking about how he ran into her at the airport. It's an impossible story, but he made her into a baby mama. I don't think it's that impossible, honestly. Rich people all go to Greece at the same time of year. You know, it's not that impossible. They're in like adjacent YouTuber, creator, influencer circles. I'm sure they have mutual friends. Like when I even think about the industry that I work in, I've had a lot of chance run-ins, or you just happen to be at the same place as someone that you don't know personally, but you know of, and then blah 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 blah. Like it's not necessarily stalker. It could have been, but I think that people are giving him too much credit. Like in my opinion, they probably genuinely did meet by chance. They genuinely felt the way that they felt about each other, but he's just not mature. You know, it just be like that. But because they're both like public figures, it seems like it's bigger or deeper than it really is, but they're still just regular people, you know, and like anybody can be in that same situation just without an audience of that size. I love your content and advice so much. Saludos desde Chile. Thank you. The only way not to age is die. Yeah. Stop saying women are choosing wrong. There's nothing good to pick from. Right. Got a shower. Hope you'll still be on after. Enjoy your shower. I'm probably going to have to dip in like 15 minutes. What happened to Liz just verified my decision to get sterilized because heartbreak is enough collateral damage. Jay-Z is the worst thing that happened to Beyonce. Lol, he groomed her. Yeah, I think she's just lucky that her family is also very business savvy. He seems super calculating. Right. Yeah. Good night from Philadelphia. Good morning from Shanghai. And if women do choose right, it doesn't mean men don't lie. Yeah. Pick better is bullshit when this happens, okay? Because they create an image, a reflection of you in order to gain access to you, okay? There's a difference between pick better being irrelevant in this situation and pick better being relevant when it's like, okay, girl, these are the same red flags. He literally is like in the situation of my friend still going for a guy who, when she said she wasn't available, he's like, I'm just going to go find another girl. In that situation, she needed to pick better. He's demonstrating, I'm not the one. I'm a loser. I'm trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to neg you. She does need to pick better in that situation because she also has other options available to her, like the cute guy from New York who's very polite and wants to take her out for a drink. So that is actually relevant in some situations, but in this situation, it's not, because he obviously created, like, did and said all the right things to get her attention and to get her attached, and overwhelmed her with all this positive, seemingly compatible information, behavior, whatever, to make it hard for her to exercise discernment, and because they're both really young, she just couldn't see through it, or she still wanted to believe. She's still young enough to have that part of her. Her naivety has not been worn down by being alive, like the level of development that I experienced between 25 and 30 is insane. I don't remember what it's like to be 25, and I don't envy my 25-year-old self at all. And I can totally see why now at 30, men go after younger women, why I just didn't know better at a younger age, because I just hadn't been alive long enough, I can totally see why men are threatened by women who are mature and have a brain and can see through male behavior, because men can see through men at all ages. Okay. So I think they're both just too young. I don't necessarily think it's about who's at fault, who's not at fault or whatever. Like, they were both just too young. That's the root of it, in my opinion. And for both of them getting really successful and being publicly facing at such a young age, you just think, why not just get married? Why not just do it now? I probably have less options because my social circle is really small, can't trust anyone, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not really anyone's fault. I think they're both just too young. Pick better can't exist in a fake it till you make it society. Exactly. I don't know. She was wearing a hat and a mask. I think she was his goal to conquer and trap her. Well, yeah, there's definitely that. But he could have manifested her without even having to stalk her, Just because, okay, I saw this thing where a guy talks about how people that overthink can get in the way of their own manifestations. And I think that's women, because women overthink everything. So you kind of create doubt. But men, they don't think. Okay, so whatever they want, they can go for. There's nothing that tells them that they're not going to get what they want. So he saw Liz, he wanted her, and he manifested her because he's not thinking. There's not much getting in the way of him getting what he wants, because men are not conditioned to question what they want or doubt themselves in the same way. And especially if he's successful at such a young age, I think he could have genuinely manifested her. I think as women, we have a lot of wounds and ignore red flags based on childhood trauma. I think society fucks with our confidence, which fucks with our intuition and discernment. I think that's why women settle for scraps and don't choose the right man. Yeah. But I think he also presented himself as the perfect guy, because he's successful. And, they kind of could share thoughts and experience, shared experiences in their position. He cheated, so he's 100% at fault, but her discernment should have been better and waited longer to get married. Yeah. But I don't think it's a matter of her discernment should have been better just because she's so young. It's crazy because she said she manifested him. Yeah. Well, I think her life is only going to get better from here, in my opinion. Even though it seems like an L now, she is going to create a movement from this. In the cabinet there.
Which area?
Up there, where my bathroom is, there's a cabinet, and then on the top, on the right, there's more. But yeah, like I said before, when you are ambitious as a woman, It can be very isolating when you are determined to like work through your trauma and heal, and you have self-awareness around those things. It can be very isolating. And when you meet someone who is able to say all the right things because they've studied you, you can feel like, oh my God, finally someone understands me. You feel like you can let your guard down because you're so used to having to constantly, exercise discernment in everything. You've lost so much as a result of trying to heal. Yeah, that's how they get you. So, and like I said, one of my exes told me, you don't really know someone until you've seen them through every season. And I think that's true. I think you need to see them through 2 seasons before you decide. I think men will, just because a man wants to lock you down in like the first 36 hours or the first like 3 months of knowing you, doesn't mean that him being in your life is going to be beneficial to you. He's clocked, you're beneficial to him, but you need more time to discern whether he'll be beneficial to you. BRB. I'm sure she doesn't have that many men approaching her either. As a beautiful woman, a lot of men are intimidated by beautiful women, leaves room for predators. Yes. At least not men that are worth entertaining, that's for sure. Him doing that just exposed they're not compatible and aligned and actually authentically compatible. Yeah. Better that she knows sooner rather than later. Financially, she'll gain from this, but being a baby mama and a divorce will change anyone. Yeah, I agree. But everybody's fate is different. She is, he acts, yes. Hey, Lindsay. Yeah. I think that it's a serious wake-up call / reality check, because I think that we pursue healing and becoming better versions of ourselves and working through all these things, deconditioning, and there might still be a part of us that thinks that we'll get the fairy tale if we do all these things, because that's how the goalpost moves. You still want to believe that there is this like perfect life waiting for you once you've done all the work, or perfect life that looks like the things that you see in fairy tales and media or whatever. But those things are all constructions, so part of the work is also redefining what is perfect for you, what is realistic for you, because no one's life is actually perfect. That's what the stories are for. Yeah, and that's just human nature, Good morning, Amber. I just woke up, listened to your newest episode yesterday. Thank you. Hey! Thanks for tuning in, babe. Yeah, like I recognize that within me also. So this could be a projection, but I think that, you almost want to prove people wrong or prove yourself wrong and be like, yeah, it is possible to have it all, or it is possible to meet someone that can be like a Prince Charming or whatever. But that's not necessarily the case. I also know you watched Lilith. I'd love to hear her take on it. Yeah. She probably doesn't even know who the Wizard Liz is, She doesn't give a fuck. She's probably seen stuff like that play out 100 times, you know? Like, I prefer watching older female creators because they've just seen more. Like, I think what Liz has created is great, but like, I don't watch her videos because she's just too young. Wake up every day feeling so light and happy now. Slowly decentering men and putting a glass shield in between me and them. Yeah. Just engage with men. Just change the way that you see your relationship with men. You don't have to isolate yourself from them. You don't have to hate them. You just need to recognize the reality of how most of them are and then adjust accordingly. Do you think he did this on purpose? I don't know. I think a lot of men are just like that. You know, they genuinely like you, they genuinely want you, they genuinely believe that you will add benefit to their life, but that doesn't mean that they've ever thought about how their actions affect you. They are only thinking about what you bring to them, and they can perform all the things to get access to you, but that doesn't mean that they can maintain it once they've got you. Okay. We have to see men for who they are and decide that you're the predator, not the prey. Same, I never followed her, but everybody knows of her. It's funny how people are shocked I wasn't. Right. Yeah, I think like what she talks about, I can see how that has value for a lot of people, but I do a lot of my own study as well. And I think that as I've gotten older, I appreciate how time and just being out in the world teaches you a lot as well. So for me, I don't really look to people that are younger than me for insight and advice on those things, but I can see how she is the bigger sister to a lot of people, and I can see why my content would not be relevant to female creators that are older than me, right? Because it's all a journey. We're just sharing what we learn as we go, and hopefully that resonates with you in your own journey. I'm not telling you, I always say, like, it's not about being more like me, it's about being more like you, because that's what I'm discovering myself. Okay. So I'm obviously aware of her work. I think what she's done is amazing. But she's just so young. Like, me, 25, and me now, different. Okay. The things that I was prone to being manipulated by when I was 25, I would not look twice at now. Discernment is key here, and pattern recognition. Guilty until proven innocent. Exactly. Some young, if that happened to you, you would take it as a teaching lesson. Some young people are wise too and can teach yourself. Yeah, I agree. It is a teaching. It is a lesson. Because again, like, young people, they still pedestal this fairy tale as if you do all the right things and then the fairy tale is available to you. When you get older, you realize that's not really the case. Okay. Everybody has problems. Nobody's life is perfect. So it's not like she's done anything wrong. She did the best that she could with the information that she had, and this was the outcome. And she is like, based on what she shares, she's gonna only get better from here. Okay. It's a challenge, but nothing that she can't overcome. Some young people are wise too and can teach you stuff. Yeah. I can definitely learn from young people, but this kind of like self-help, female empowerment content, I can just talk to younger women that I know in person. Like, the things that she shares is like entry level. And it's like mostly a pep talk. It's just like a dopamine hit. It's not like what you can actually do. You know, that's why I always talk about habits. Like, meditation, like journaling, because no matter how much you talk about how hot you are, how don't give a fuck, how cut people off, that doesn't actually teach you how to process your emotions and how to recenter. And those are the tools that actually helped me. No amount of like gassing myself up helped me when I'm in a difficult situation and I'm feeling overwhelmed by emotion on how to navigate that. You can't gas yourself up when you've already reached that limit. Okay. So that's why I mostly focus on returning to what are the things that you can do, which is not something that I see present in her content, but that's not what she's trying to do. So that's fine. Because it's definitely a process, you know. Because she's so young and her audience is also younger than her. So the first step is like realizing that something is wrong, okay? Acknowledging the problem. And then what do you do once you've acknowledged it? Okay, that's what I'm interested in. What actions can be taken? It's not as simple as just like, this person is not serving me, so I'm just going to cut them off. You need to learn to process your emotions and like rewrite the story around them, which is what I'm interested in at this stage. Can you share older women you look towards when wanting to learn? If you do, Princella, I don't watch her that regularly now, but she was great. Lilith, Shira Seven, Shallon Lester. After a brief breakup with my boyfriend, I reconsidered the intensity of the relationship. I'm a very romantic and committed person, and now I see him more as a friend, companion than a lover. I feel the relationship is more enriching and realistic. Sometimes by romanticizing someone so much, you fall in love with something that doesn't really exist. Exactly. Saw all these girls' comments on Liz YouTube. I'm proud of them for being deeply observant and recognizing the red flags in a man. Yeah. Well, it's easy to recognize it when you're watching someone else's relationship versus your own. Okay. So I give people grace for that. And I think what's amazing is that they're supportive of her. You know, he underestimated the power of the female audience and the power that she has and the connection that she has with her audience, because he obviously doesn't have that with his audience. Okay, he thought that they were just going to flip on her probably, and that he would be the winner, that he is the loser. He is sorely mistaken, and he deeply underestimated what women are capable of and what women can embody, because he is just a tiny little pea. Okay, he can barely even manage a fraction of that. That's why he clowned this badly. The more I decenter men, the more I feel as though the healthy, equal relationship isn't in the cards, and I'm happy about it. Period. Do you still have close guy friends? I have guy friends. In terms of straight guy friends, not many. I would consider most of them acquaintances, and I categorize my relationships with men differently to my relationships with women, you know, and I deal with them differently. So they are close friends considering that they're men, but they are not close friends in the pool of friends that I have if you include the girls and the gays. Okay, like I'm closer with girls and gays, and then I have a male friend who would be closer than other male acquaintances, but yeah, it's just different with boys. I've de-pedestaled, de-romanticized the close male friendship thing. I have men asking me what I bring to the table. It's becoming so common. Don't reply. Not worth it. I watched their video together and saw right through him. So many red flags. He gives knock. Why men love to humiliate women? Because they're threatened. Women embody life force, okay, just by existing. So many men are threatened by that because they don't have that. They don't get to just exist, you know? It's like men, when you ask them what they would do if they became a woman for a day, they're like, oh, I would like get a man to buy me drinks. Because you have value and you have intrigue just by being a woman. Men never get that. If they're not contributing, they feel useless. Their status and their value comes from what they can do. You don't have to do anything as a woman to be considered desirable, you know. Unfortunately, we live in upside down land in a pick me society. So there are men that aren't doing much and get chased by women, but that's not normal. They got to step on us to lift themselves up, yeah. And that's just like people in general, you know. Some people are just like that. It's not even just men. I feel so mad for her. They're hollow inside, yeah. I only learned that Liz is young with this scandal. I thought she was 30, 33, yeah. I would finesse so many dudes if I was a woman. See? Exactly. Men resent and envy the power that you have over them because they are lustful, okay? They just don't want you to see that you have that power. That's what the patriarchy is all about. Getting you to devalue yourself, getting you to think that you're the one that has to jump through hoops. When all men know you have power over them just by existing. So if you don't learn to harness that power, you will be or protect it, you're at risk of being taken advantage of. She's 26. Yeah, she's so young, you know? Like, I remember when I was that age and I was dating an older dude. Same shit. He just mirrored all the things that I talked about and that I shared to gain access to me, but he wasn't living it. He wasn't embodying it. It's a test and it is a learning experience, and she's going to be fine. It happens to women all the time, especially at that age. Just for her, she had an audience. Okay, so she needs to date older, as Shiri would suggest. I just don't think she needs to date. She doesn't need to prioritize it. Yeah, men benefit being in proximity with women. A woman's cosign is priceless. Older doesn't mean wiser. I've dated a 56-year-old, and yeah, Amber can tell you all about that. Yes. I'm glad you're out of that situation, girl, because I wouldn't have been able to handle any more questions about it. But yeah, you realize in between 25 and 30, what I realized is that there is no marker for like someone's maturity, you can't just think that you can collect flags and know someone, you know? You just need to experience it, and you need to exercise discernment, and you need to prioritize yourself. You are responsible for prioritizing your needs and knowing whether or not you are compatible with someone or a situation. They can't decide that for you. They're coming at you because they want something from you, not because they give a fuck about you. Okay? It's up to you to constantly assess whether you are on the same page or not. That's what I learned between 25 and 30, because I still get questions from people like, is this a green flag? Is that a red flag? And it's like, sure, we can have these conversations, but there's nothing that's going to, there's no shortcut to having to be responsible for who you associate with and to what degree. That cannot be circumvented by red flag, green flag. Everyone is just a person. Everyone has their own problems, many of which they are not aware of, and that you will have to be on the receiving end of to know whether you're compatible or not, you know? And that just takes time. Yes, we refuse to be stepped on, we rise instead. A lot of them are bound to the idea of marriage and relationships, and they're unhappy. It really feels like no woman is safe if they got Liz. It's so sad. It's also at the point you just have to accept that there is always the potential for betrayal, and it's the choices. It's your choice. That's your choice to make. Yeah. Exactly. There's nothing that's like, that's the problem with a lot of this like self-help content. Like, I try to emphasize that there is nothing that you can do that protects you from bullshit. There are only things that you can do to train yourself to be better at responding to it. You know, that's something that I've mentioned in all of my recent videos, because it's not like if you just do this, then everything will be easy. That's not how it works. The more that you grow, the more that you ascend, the more successful you become, the more shit you have to deal with, actually. That's why a lot of people are not ambitious. That's why a lot of people don't want to put themselves out there. That's why a lot of people don't want to get better, because they're afraid of what they'll lose in that process. You know, your new life is going to cost your old one. Nothing more real than that. So all you can do is train yourself to better understand who you are and what you want, how you can respond to the challenges that will come, inevitably arise in your pursuit of that. There's no get out of jail free card. Okay. And a lot of self-help content creates this illusion, or tries to sell you, tries to bait you with that. Like, do this and you'll never have to worry again. Do this and you'll never be insecure again. You'll only deal with high value men. You'll only blah, blah. That's not how it works. The price of freedom, independence, and peace of mind is feeling loneliness and longing sometimes. Yeah, it's just boring. Okay. Like, we live in an overstimulated world. I've been spending less time on social media. And when you have worked through a lot of things and you have healthier boundaries, shit's boring. Okay? Being content is not like that and exciting as like being stressed. It doesn't feel as exciting as being stressed all the time. So, you know, that's why you need to be intentional with what you fill your time and energy with, because nature abhors a vacuum. If you don't fill it with intention, someone else will find something to put there, or you will start to create chaos out of boredom. So your energy needs healthy outlets. That's why I talk about non-negotiable hobbies. When I don't go to yoga or like go to pole dance, I feel crazy. Anyway, I need to head out. She's going to be a phoenix rising in no time. All these young women supporting her and each other on YouTube love it. Yeah, she's going to be slaying, you know. And it will be a great part of her lore. It's very common for women in her position to be bamboozled like that. She's not the first woman that I've seen who is public facing, successful, you know, like tired of having to constantly maintain her standards, and meets a guy, they get engaged really quickly because he is able to mirror her, and then gets disappointed. It's not the first time I've seen it happen. That's why it's so important for us women to know thyself. Yes. Don't get married before 30. Okay. If you never prioritize marriage to begin with, don't get married. Don't do it. They have more to gain. Men have more to gain from marriage to you than you do from being married to them. Okay. Especially in this day and age. Men are a liability for the most part. So standing on business will keep a lot of her audience respecting her. Exactly. Because there is no point at which you are free from challenge, at which you are free from the universe testing you. Okay. And that's what this demonstrates. She didn't do anything wrong. She did her best. He definitely did his best. But I think it's really great that her audience is supportive. We're living in an age where she is not blamed or like shamed for it, because it wouldn't have been like that if it was 10 years ago. So there's a huge paradigm shift. A lot of women are going to see the reality of men now, because there would be lots of women in her audience that are still holding out for the perfect man, you know? And I think that's normal. We all want that. And it's okay to want that, but it doesn't mean that you stop practicing discernment. Okay. Thank you for joining, everyone. I'm going to go. Enjoy your day. Stay hot and having fun. We can do this time next week again, if you like. I'm going to upload the YouTube recording so you can rewatch on YouTube or share with other people. Thank you so much. Please, if you haven't already, read The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. Yes, I haven't read it yet, but obviously iconic text. Love you guys. Speak soon. Bye-bye.